Thanks for clicking on the video. My name's Tom Alsop, and today I'm going to give you my no-nonsense approach for mastering the ball toss. Just for fun. Let's see if I can serve with my eyes closed. It's been at least a decade or so. Oh, that was clean. Now, I've always had a good ball toss, very rarely have to catch it, and it just came to my attention that I'm using what we call on YouTube a Jtos, which means that the toss comes down to here and then circles around. So it sort of traces the letter J. Now this is new to me because I don't watch YouTube videos, tennis YouTube videos. So I was unaware I was doing this. I was just throwing the ball up. And even though this is what the pros are doing, I think for your average tennis player, focusing on this is not the most helpful thing you can do. Also came to my attention that I am releasing the ball like I am releasing a baby bird. And I'm glad that I wasn't taught that way, because to me that's really difficult. First of all, I've never released a baby bird or an adult bird. So me thinking about that is not really that useful. Now what I've done over the years is just thrown things at things, thrown balls, thrown rocks at objects. And all I'm doing on the serve is I'm just throwing it at a target in the sky. It's not really any more difficult than that. Now, I'm going to show you why the J-toss happens and why you should probably end up with it, but it should happen in a very natural way. So the way that the ideal serve kinetic chain works is similar to a throwing motion. I'm going to load from the right side of my body, this is where the power's at, and I'm going to transfer my weight to the left side at the perfect time to release the right side. So as I bring that into my service motion, I will then start to toss as I rotate my shoulders, get my weight to my left side of my body, and then I'm going to throw from there, which is why the path of the ball toss becomes kind of like a J. Now, if you're a beginner, you're probably not loading this back leg quite as much as I will. You'll probably have a static position, you might have an Eastern grip, and your ball toss is going to be happening with the weight on the front leg, and there's not going to be any circling around of the arm. So just focus when you're starting out on just throwing it up and not complicating this move. There's nothing wrong with serving like this, and maybe I turn a little bit, but I can just throw it up without needing any J-toss business. It'll be no different than me just throwing a ball into this basket here, right? Just figure out how to throw it at a target. That target is now just in the sky. You don't have to think about, hey, maybe I'll get better at doing this if I release it like a baby bird, or maybe if I J-toss it in here. You don't really have to do that. You just have to think about controlling your arm, being in a comfortable position, and hitting the target that instead of it being here, it's just up in the sky. So you can see on that one, my arm isn't circling, but the ball toss is pretty good. Now, a big reason why people struggle with their ball toss is they throw it too high. I'm a big believer in a low ball toss. My ball toss is probably only this much higher than where I actually strike the ball from. So if you throw the ball high, you have to deal with the wind. You have to deal with the sun. You also have to deal with the fact that if you're a little bit off, the higher you throw it, the more it's just going to get offline. But the other reason is, the higher you throw it, the more you got to give it a bit of oomph. Then the elbow starts bending, then the wrist starts moving. And, you know, alternatively on a low ball toss, you can just go from the shoulder. You don't have to give it all this extra power, so you can just release it like a baby bird. I've never actually been a massive fan of players just practicing their ball toss. Never seems to really help. Now, sure, if you're in the house, you're not on a tennis court, and you want to practice something, you know, it's not going to be bad. However, if you're a beginner and you're practicing the ball toss, well, you need to build up the reps of throwing it up and hitting the ball. Right? Just practicing the ball toss on its own seems like a bit of a waste when you could throw it up and hit it and really develop your skills. Now, when you get to a better level and you're doing the Jtos, you got to remember that if you're practicing the ball toss just on its own, it's going to look something like this because you're doing it from the back leg and as you turn your shoulders. So if you're going to practice the ball toss, it has to look something like this instead of just practicing it sort of this arm in isolation. So, you know, if you're going to do it, just understand that you got to synchronize it with everything else to really be practicing the motion. But again, if you have the option, just hit the thing because it's going to be more realistic. You might as well practice your ball toss, hitting it, and then figure out if you actually put it in the right place or not because of the feedback that you're going to get from hitting the tennis ball. So I'll do a few serves. You'll be able to see how low my ball toss is. As I said, probably only this much higher than where I strike the ball from. And then we'll talk about the advantages of this when I'm serving against an opponent. But let me do one where I don't jump and one where I jump. So I always felt like when I played someone with a low ball toss, it was always more difficult to read. And I feel like when I throw it up, I kind of get the sense that people read my serve a little bit more easily. So I've always liked a quick ball toss for that reason. Also, the sort of coordination and the rhythm of the serve always to me felt a little bit better when I was throwing it lower. When I see people throwing the ball really high, this isn't always the case, but quite often it's kind of like a stop and start kind of motion. It's a lot more difficult to throw it high and slow certain elements of the serve down and speed some up. And for me, I always see people kind of stop in a certain position. And as I said, they have to stop and start. Whereas when it's lower, I can just keep everything moving. That wasn't at the middle. Now, one reason I have a low ball toss is because when I was about 19 years old, living in Australia, I'm English, by the way. 90% of people ask me if I'm Australian. I don't get it. But anyway, I lived in Australia for about 6 or 7 months, and my coach out there used to get me to serve with my eyes closed. It was basically like saying, like, this is so easy, you can do it with your eyes closed. He was saying that he thought, I don't know if this is true, but Pete Sampras could serve with his eyes closed because, you know, he's obviously mastered the serve. He knows where everything is, his timing, his rhythm, everything is so synchronized that he'll be able to do it with his eyes closed. So we practiced serving with our eyes closed, and obviously never going to use that. But when our eyes are open and we're hitting a regular serve, the whole coordination and the rhythm just seemed like it was a little bit better. And whenever I serve with my eyes open, I would always have that idea that in the future I'm going to be able to serve with my eyes closed. So I would serve with my eyes open, just visualizing everything being so well coordinated that, yeah, I'll be able to serve with my eyes closed soon. Just for fun, let's see if I can serve with my eyes closed. It's been at least a decade or so. Gonna do one with my feet on the floor. See if I can just coordinate this. Oh, it was clean. Just opening my eyes just in time to see a little bit long there, down the tee. One more. Went left. Pretty happy with that though. Let me do one with my jumping. Let's see if I can do my sort of regular service motion. I'm scared. Okay. Get to sort of sense a few things as well. Kind of sense where the ball toss is going, or kind of feel it. And it hit the inside of the racket there. So it's kind of useful information. One more. Not bad. I feel like I dropped my head a little bit so that the ball doesn't hit me on the head. I try and keep my head up. Oh, that was clean. So as I said, gonna serve a few with my eyes open, with that feeling that in a month's time, I'll have mastered this and I'll be able to serve with my eyes closed. I hope you got something out of that video. If you've not seen this video with me and Jeff Salzenstein, check it out. We give some great advice to help you with your serve.